This is the Banks Insider News for the week of March 6th, 2020. I'm Jay, and here's the latest on what's going on inside Banks Power. In the 10th episode of the Building a Monster Truck Engine series on YouTube and Facebook, Gale walks us around the Supercharged Twin-Turbo 7-liter Duramax that's destined for the Diesel Brothers Bro-Doster monster truck. And he reveals the race-ready exhaust manifolds, which are now available at bankspower.com. In our R&D update this week, we get an example of how precision laser scanning can help create CAD models of parts that can be used to check compatibility and clearances when creating brand new parts. Here's Stepan scanning a brake cable mount that he'll drop into a model for an upcoming rear differential cover. Before we release the various diff cover fitments, the team ensures all stock bracketry will fit, including parking brake lines, because they're important, right?
Guys, why aren't the brakes working?
Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches! Yeah! What?
For our dealer spotlight this week, we look at Kyle Mongan's Hurricane diesel performance in Spokane, Washington. After getting totally burnt out working for diesel shops in his area, Kyle decided to give it a shot and go out on his own, taking money out of his savings account, and he opened Hurricane Diesel in 2014 at the very young age of 21. What were you doing at 21? Throwing rocks at your neighbor? Kyle's HDP takes the same precision care during routine maintenance that they use to create complex diesel drag builds, because to them, the attention to detail and dependability of the workmanship is no different. He and his crew take the same mentality to used trucks, and they sell dependable diesel rigs that have been completely reconditioned through Diesel Alliance trucks. If you're around the Spokane area, hit up Kyle and his crew at Hurricane Diesel. In the fan focus this week, we take a look at Tim Hellman's iDash installation in what kind of vehicle? A 2014 Turbo Mini Countryman. Yeah, we make parts that go in minis. Dissatisfied with the amount of info displayed on the Mini's dash, Tim wanted more. They don't really have a lot of information displayed for the driver, says Tim. You basically get speed, RPM, outside air temperature, and a light that comes on when it overheats or does anything it's not supposed to. No warnings or nothing else. It's awful. He looked into mechanical gauges, but the pod setup he had was just way too shallow. Enter the iDash. Tim installed 2 iDash DataMonsters and was blown away at what he was able to see. Engine performance parameters, vehicle performance parameters, pressures, temps, voltages, fueling, emissions, diagnostics. His eyes almost fell out of his head when he saw the list. Needless to say, he loves it, and he loves Banks. Aww. In Gale's latest unboxing video, he unveils an Endress and Hauser Coriolis flow meter.
What? Yeah!
An $8,000 piece of high-tech instrumentation that not only measures fuel flow with incredible precision, but it measures the fluid's density at the same time. And we bought 2 of them for dyno cell number 1. One will measure the fuel feed and one will measure the fuel return. For the past decade or two, we've used custom-built flow meters that were super accurate during steady-state analysis, but they couldn't account for quick blasts of the throttle. The new meter will allow the engineering team to measure fuel flow while the throttle is being smashed. This will come incredibly handy during testing of the Supercharged Twin-Turbo Duramax, which I talked about earlier. As Gale often says, it's all about the he said, she said. No, he doesn't. He said it's all about the data. This week in the time machine, we go way back to 1958 and we spy in on a very young Gale Banks and his first big engine sale. A completely one-of-a-kind V8 with dual overhead cam heads designed by Miller-Offey legend Leo Goosen. Only 2 complete engines were ever built by Offenhauser, both of which broke. The program was abandoned and the spare parts fell into the hands of a few members. Gale managed to buy everything available to build the real deal, a Leo Goosen Indy engine. He originally built the engine for his 1953 Studebaker Starliner, but as fate would have it, the engine never made it into the car as Gale sold it, a decision he regrets to this day. And since it's still cold in much of the country, it might be a swell idea to grab yourselves a Banks hoodie. They're thick, they're warm, and they make you look cooler than you already are. Just click the clothing and accessories tab on bankspower.com, and while you're there, you may want to grab yourself a cool billet hitch cover, because that hitch plug in the back of your truck is empty and naked. There's always something going on here at Banks, so don't forget to keep up. Make sure you're glued to our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube feeds, and please tap that like button to stay in the know, because knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!